Wild animals are naturally wired to fear humans. Yet time and time again, something remarkable happens that seems to defy that instinct. Wolves, elephants, whales, and many other wild creatures have been seen stopping their desperate attempts to escape when people arrive to rescue them. How can an animal suddenly decide that the person approaching isn't another threat? When we free an animal from a net, cut away ropes, lift it from thick mud, or remove a snare, it's easy to assume the animal realizes we're trying to help. Scientific research, however, suggests the truth is far more complicated. The moment a wild animal becomes trapped and loses the ability to escape, its body enters a survival state unlike anything humans normally experience. Stress hormones like cortisol flood through its bloodstream almost instantly. Adrenaline rises to levels that would be life-threatening if maintained for more than a few minutes. Its heart rate can double and then increase dramatically again as panic takes complete control. Researchers have found that hoofed animals caught in fences often show even higher cortisol levels than animals wounded by bullets or struck by vehicles. At that point, the body is burning through every emergency reserve it has, activating every survival mechanism that evolution has built over millions of years. From the outside, the signs are unmistakable. The pupils become fully dilated. Every muscle tightens until the body seems almost frozen in place. The mouth may hang slightly open. Breathing becomes incredibly fast but shallow. Wildlife rehabilitators often describe it as if the animal has mentally disappeared somewhere else. Its body is still present, but its mind is focused entirely on surviving the immediate danger. So when a human finally approaches a trapped animal, the animal doesn't recognize a rescuer. Instead, it sees what appears to be the arrival of the ultimate predator at the worst possible moment. That's why struggling usually becomes even more intense as a person gets closer. To the animal's survival system, every step forward looks like the final stage of a hunt. Then, in some extraordinary cases, everything changes. The frantic movements suddenly stop. The stiff muscles begin to relax ever so slightly. Instead of fighting, the animal turns toward the person standing nearby. It remains completely still and simply watches. In December 2005, a crab fisherman discovered a humpback whale hopelessly tangled in heavy fishing gear about 20 miles off the coast of San Francisco. Thick ropes had wrapped tightly around her mouth, flippers, and tail. 12 crab traps weighing nearly 90 pounds each were dragging from her body, constantly pulling her downward. She was forced to struggle every second just to keep her blowhole above the surface of the water. 4 experienced divers entered the ocean carrying curved knives, fully aware that one powerful movement of the whale's tail could easily kill any of them. The instant the divers entered the water, the whale stopped struggling completely. For more than an hour, she remained almost perfectly still at the surface, while the rescue team carefully cut away the tangled ropes. Several times, she slowly shifted her enormous body, gently rolling and extending a flipper to give the divers easier access to the lines wrapped around her. It was an astonishing sight. A 50-foot, 22-ton wild animal deliberately chose to stay calm while complete strangers worked around her body with razor-sharp knives. Scientists believe this behavior may be explained by the way animals recognize patterns rather than intentions. When a predator closes the distance, it usually moves quickly, directly, and aggressively. That pattern has been deeply embedded into an animal's survival instincts through millions of years of evolution. A human attempting a rescue behaves very differently. The movements are slow and deliberate. There are no sudden lunges or violent gestures. Instead of grabbing the animal, the rescuer focuses on the trap itself. The animal's brain instinctively scans everything it knows about danger. Surprisingly, nothing matches. Without a recognizable pattern of attack, the emergency response begins to ease. Rather than continuing to fight, the animal pauses. A similar event unfolded in Yellowstone National Park when researchers discovered a wolf caught in a steel leg trap. Every attempt to approach triggered another aggressive charge from the terrified animal. One researcher made an unusual decision. Instead of moving closer, he stood completely still and quietly maintained eye contact with the wolf. A predator preparing to kill rarely locks into calm, steady eye contact. Instead, it constantly tracks movement, studies escape routes, and calculates the exact moment to strike. Prolonged eye contact without any signs of aggression doesn't fit the normal blueprint of a deadly threat. Some wildlife experts believe this kind of calm gaze may even be interpreted as a form of social communication rather than hostile behavior. After several tense minutes, the wolf finally stopped charging. It slowly lowered itself into a seated position. Then, for the first time, it returned the researcher's gaze instead of trying to attack. As the team carefully worked to release the trap, the wolf remained focused on their hands, quietly watching every movement. Once the trap finally released its grip, the wolf didn't bolt away as anyone would have expected. Instead, it remained motionless for a brief moment. It looked directly at the researcher who had helped free it. Only then did it quietly turn and disappear back into the forest. The humpback whale displayed something equally extraordinary after the final rope was cut away near the Farallon Islands. Rather than swimming off immediately, she began making wide, graceful circles around the divers. Then she approached each rescuer one at a time. She surfaced beside every diver individually. With incredible gentleness, she lightly touched each person using the tip of her massive lower jaw before moving on to the next. James Mosquito, one of the divers involved in the rescue, later said the experience felt unmistakably like gratitude. Scientists are naturally cautious about using words like that. Still, humpback whales possess spindle neurons, specialized brain cells also found in humans, great apes, and elephants. These unique neurons are strongly linked to empathy, emotional awareness, and complex social decision-making. For many years, researchers believed these cells existed only in primates. The whale's brain clearly contains the neurological hardware capable of processing highly sophisticated social interactions. Whether she actually used those abilities during that rescue is something science still cannot prove. Researchers in Kenya have documented similar moments while rescuing young elephants trapped in deep mud pits. Before walking away, several of the rescued elephants deliberately reached out with their trunks to touch the people who had freed them. An elephant's trunk contains more than 40,000 muscles. Its incredible concentration of nerve endings rivals the sensitivity of human fingertips. When an elephant intentionally extends its trunk toward someone, it is rarely a random movement. It is carefully exploring. Elephants are known to mourn their dead. They can recognize themselves in mirrors. They retain social memories for decades. Researchers have repeatedly observed elephants returning to the bones of deceased family members, gently touching them with their trunks long after death. Their ability to distinguish between a human who causes harm and one who offers help is far more advanced than many people realize. So, Do wild animals actually understand when a human is trying to save them? The most honest scientific answer is that we simply don't know. What the evidence clearly shows is that certain animals are capable of suppressing their fear response when a calm, non-threatening human works nearby. What often follows is even more fascinating. Many animals deliberately turn toward the rescuer. Some choose to make physical contact. Others display behaviors that serve no obvious survival purpose once they are free. What science cannot measure is what happens inside those moments. No researcher can truly know what it feels like to be the wolf standing at the edge of the forest, watching the people who just saved its life walk back to their vehicles. No instrument can explain what passed through the humpback whale's mind as she slowly approached each diver in the cold Pacific Ocean. Were those actions simple curiosity? Were they the result of pattern recognition? Or was there something deeper taking place? For now, no scientific study can provide a definitive answer. The researchers who have spent years studying these extraordinary encounters remain surprisingly cautious. Rather than forcing a conclusion, they continue to leave the question open. Perhaps one day, science will discover exactly what happens in those remarkable moments. Until then, we are left with a collection of unforgettable encounters that challenge everything we assume about the relationship between humans and wild animals. Again and again, animals that should have fled instead chose to stay. They watched, they waited, some even reached out. Whether those actions represent trust, curiosity, gratitude, or something we have yet to understand remains one of nature's most fascinating mysteries. And for now, the only ones who truly know the answer are the animals themselves.